We are going to try to get through the last of the painting that we need to for the RX7 in this video. That is going to include the front bumper, the rear bumper, the sunroof, both doors, both fenders, and the hood. The hatch we're gonna do later because we have a carbon hatch coming, so there's no point in even trying to paint that one. That one's pretty much just gonna be a scrap hatch, except for the glass. That's the whole reason I'm keeping that one. So I've got our rear bumper and our sunroof sanded and ready to get primed. The front bumper is already primed, so once the sunroof and the rear bumper are ready to be sanded before we do our base coat, once the sunroof is done and back in the car, that means we can get in the headliner, a lot of the interior trim panels. We can pretty much just wrap up the interior of the car for the most part, with the exception of some stuff that we still have at powder coat. So for all of these panels, I did buy an inflatable paint booth. I do not know how well this is going to work. It was $400 on Amazon, so your guess is gonna be as good as mine here. Not gonna lie, pretty impressed that it fits in this thing. It's like a giant sausage. Ugh. I guess I just wait. Oh, dude, this thing's freaking sweet. So, how much did I pay for that? I think this was like 400 bucks on Amazon, right? Entryway for a main car, exit for a people door. We have actual vents up here which flow air into the booth. We've got two of these big black charcoal filters on each side of the booth to keep dust and crap out. I will say it is kind of hot in here, but I think we'll manage. I've got our rear bumper and our sunroof in here, so I say let's just get straight to primering. With the sunroof, I'm gonna have to mask it because I don't want to get overspray on the actual frame of it. So I've got the head cam charging. Let me just get that masked up right now. We'll get everything cleaned with wax and grease remover, hit it with a tack rag, mix up some primer, get these sprayed. We're gonna let them sit for about a half hour, sand them, base coat, clear coat. 1, 2, 3, 4. No? You like my drumming? Whoa. For me, when it comes to painting, the first coat that I typically tend to do is a lighter one, just to get the surface a little bit tacky for whatever I'm painting. I found that it helps me a bit with trying to prevent runs. And using this gun more and getting more hands-on, dude, I feel so much better about painting. So with the rear bumper or any other like awkwardly shaped body panels, it's best to try to start in all the little nooks and crannies. Like on the rear bumper, we've got those two spots for the light, the license plate, and then obviously where it mounts up to the chassis. So I try to hit those spots first and then go over the full bumper. So that way I'm only getting a little bit of light overspray on what we have already painted versus having to have a massive amount. I'll do 3 coats of the epoxy primer on everything that we're doing. It gives a good amount of buildup, so that way we have enough primer to work with to sand everything smooth, because we don't want to be putting paint over bare metal. It's just not gonna last in the long run. It'll start flaking and chipping and peeling off, and that's the last thing that we want. So we try to get as much primer on there as we can without going excessively heavy. A brand new 99 spec bumper from Mazda. I didn't feel the need to re-primer this, so we just sanded it down with some 4 and 600 grit, cleaned it off with some wax and grease remover, and then set that aside to get it prepped. Now I'm about to learn a quick valuable lesson here of don't sand your parts too soon, otherwise you will ruin your primer and you'll have to strip everything back down and fix it later. Oh, I'm pretty upset. I f***ed up both the sunroof and the bumper by sanding, so I'm just gonna re-primer them tonight, so we'll sand them back down smooth. We just have to get this general area smooth. I've already scuffed everything else up. We can respray. We can really just isolated spray this area here, let it cure overnight, sand it all smooth, same with the sunroof, and then we'll just do base coat on both of these when we do the fenders and everything else. We'll just do those first in the morning, but I've already got the booth up and I've already got the front bumper scuffed up, ready to go in there. So we're just gonna jump on that. We're not gonna let no silly little mistakes stop us from having a grand old time, right? That's where you guys say right. I got impatient, which seems to happen, I don't want to say frequently, but it does seem to happen with me in painting. I get excited, okay? Just like with the primer, with the base coat, we're gonna start in all the weird little nooks and crannies of the bumper. That way, as we go to shoot the bumper, if we were to go back to the little nooks and crannies after we've painted everything, we can get some buildup in some spots and some runs. And getting runs in base coat, while it's not the end of the world, it is quite annoying to have to deal with because you gotta let it sit for a couple of hours. You gotta wet sand it with wax and grease remover, and it's just not a fun time. So try to knock out all those weird little spots first. Now, you guys will see I try to maintain a continuous motion as I do paint the large panels of the bumper. That's also just gonna help keep a lot of the crap from building up on the paint, so that way you don't have one spot that may have some spitting or anything like that. With the base coat, we are doing 3 coats with a 10-minute flash in between each. And when I say a 10-minute flash, it just means you wait 10 minutes in between each coat. It lets the paint get a little bit tacky, so that way as you go to spray your next coat, you're not going to get a tons of runs in it. Same thing's gonna be said with the clear. We're gonna do 3 coats of the clear. Now with the clear, you wanna try to be a little more consistent and a little bit heavier with it. I have noticed with some things I've done in the past, there are a couple dry spots on some panels. Granted, we do have 3 coats of clear on there. We can wet sand them down, but trying to get the consistency more in line when spraying it is going to make wet sanding the car way, way easier later. Bumper sit overnight, and in the morning came back and started getting to work on our front fenders and our sunroof. Now with the fenders, I did decide to sand the inside and outside of them just to give the inside some protection throughout the year, so that way we can prime the inside. Now with the sunroof, I really messed up here because trying to get all of this epoxy primer off was not wanting to cooperate very well. Back to the fenders, there was some rust on the bottom side that we also needed to fix. So instead of just trying to sand the rust off, I figured I'd just grab a stripper wheel and strip it all out of there, so that way we can get down to bare metal and get that properly fixed. Now with the fenders, there was a lot of dirt and whatnot built up in the little nooks and crannies of them. So I found the easiest way to clean them was just grab a hose, spray everything down. I got all the dirt out. Pretty impressed with how quick this paint booth inflates. Like, it is gone from deflated to fully inflated within like 5 minutes max, and that's having to adjust it a little bit. But honestly, this has been such a good purchase for just painting projects that I'll be doing now and in the future. If you guys are looking to paint your stuff, huge shout out to the guys over at Eastwood. They've got epoxy primers, a ton of other different type of primers, base coats that you can get pretty much any color you want, clear coats. We have a discount code Smeedia 10 over there, so if you have any painting projects coming up, definitely hit them up. So I mentioned it earlier, there was a bit of rust on the inside of these fenders. I did grind it down and then hit it with some rust reformer, sanded it a little bit to make it a paintable surface. I would highly suggest that if you're gonna be doing any rust restoration and you're gonna be painting over it, use some of that rust reformer. It's gonna stop the rust from coming back or spreading anywhere past where it already is. I wasn't gonna make the same mistake that I made last time, and we're gonna let all of these primered parts cure overnight. In the meantime, before I pull them out of the booth, I have all of these brackets that go on the front bumper, and these are all of the supports. We opted to have these Cerakoted. Now, someone asked in the last video, why am I Cerakoting some things and why am I powder coating others? If it is a temperature sensitive part, we are not going to powder coat it, we are going to Cerakote it. The Cerakote is air cure, so that means we don't have to toss it in the oven. With these brackets, they do have little rubber seals on them, and without buying all new brackets, you can't really get the seals, unfortunately. So the seals were still in good shape. We opted to Cerakote them, which I think they came out fantastic. I want to say this is Glacier Black. I could be wrong on that, but first time seeing the bumper painted and back on the car. Funny enough, it doesn't look way too off in color from the primered headlight buckets, but we'll get those painted here soon. Coming back the following morning, the primer was actually cured enough for us to be able to work with and get smooth. So we go over it with 400 and 600, sometimes 800 depending on what the part is. Now with these fenders, because Mazda had some weird rubberized road protection coating under the paint, it didn't come out perfect. So we're using a little bit of glazing putty here to kind of smooth out any of those low spots that are in the bottom of the fender. While it's not going to be super noticeable because it is at the bottom of the car, I still want it to be as perfect as possible. So we hit it with 180 grit, 220, 400, 600, then 800, and we repeat the process up until all of the little holes or low spots are all sanded out and everything is perfectly smooth. Little orange rag that used to be wiping everything down with is called a tack rag. It's just a sticky cloth that's going to pick up any dirt, debris, dust, anything that may have landed on the parts. After we've tack ragged everything, we're just going to go over all of our panels the same way we've been doing for everything else. painting, you want to try to hit a 50% overlap between your sprays. For the tip size that we're using for all of these, for primer we're using a 1.4, for base coat a 1.3, and clear coat a 1.2 millimeter tip size. That's the recommended usage from what 3M has been giving us for what we should be using for each of these paints. I am so incredibly happy with how both front fenders, the rear bumper, and the sunroof came out. These are the best things I have painted by far. I don't know what happened, but as I was painting, it was like something just clicked. Like, I know what I'm doing now. I know the rate and the speed I should be moving for the clear coat. And dude, it's insane. I want to respray. I'm not going to respray the whole car and sand it all down again, but for the next project, or if I go to repaint this car again in the future, I feel like I've got a good flow now of what I feel like I'm doing. And we're almost done painting on this car. All we have left is the carbon hatch when it shows up, the two doors, the headlight buckets, and the hood. Unfortunately, I am almost out of clear coat, so we already have more clear coat coming. But dude, it's insane how just like practice. You just practice and you get better. It's the wildest thing. That's how I learn, at least. I don't know about you guys. I'm more of a hands-on type of learner where in order for me to really grasp something, I need to have it in my hands and do it. So we're gonna let all those cure overnight. Tomorrow, I'm gonna come back over here. We're gonna get those parts back on the car so they can cure on car and not on stands. So that way they're not gonna be kicked, bumped, or anything like that. But I am so freaking pleased, and it'll be the first time we can actually see the RX-7 with a lot of the body panels back on, as the car is now white. The only things, like I said, we won't have the headlight buckets are still primer, so that's gonna be the one thing. I might try to paint those tomorrow, we'll see, but I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what this thing looks like with all of these body panels back on. I wish I had enough clear coat to do the doors and the hood, because I would knock those out also, but I just don't. And I don't want to get halfway through clearing something, because I'd like to just do the doors at the same time, the hood at the same time, so that way we can just knock all of those out. The headlight buckets are small enough, as well as the gas cap. I can do those pretty much at any point. Those will sand quickly, they'll prime quickly, they'll base coat quickly. So I might put the primer on them tomorrow, we'll see. But swing back over here in the morning. I'm so pleased with how those came out. Went ahead and tossed all the panels on. It is obviously the next day. Everything color match wise is looking perfect, man. I can't see any differentiation between what we painted yesterday and like the body or the interior. The sunroof was quite a pain to get back in, but that is in. Front fenders are both on with our front bumper, and the color match beautiful, especially with them being different materials too, with the front bumper being fiberglass and the fenders being metal. That's perfect. That literally looks perfect. Oh my gosh, dude, this thing's gonna look so good with carbon accents on the body. Woohoo! I got these carbon vents for the fenders. I was a little stressed they'd be too big, but honestly, they look really good. They look surprisingly good. I'm about them, so I'm actually gonna take that off before it falls off because it's not secured down. So I want to do a lot of carbon accents on the white. I think it'll come out looking phenomenal because carbon on white just always looks good. I could sit here and look at this thing all day, and we're so close to being done painting. All we have left are the headlight buckets, the fuel cap or the fuel tank cap, the doors, the hood, and the hatch. Then we're done. Obviously can't paint any of the big stuff until we get the rest of our clear coat in, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now. We've got some more mechanical stuff that we gotta knock out anyways. Strip the knuckles, powder coat those, put new wheel bearings in, get the knuckles in, start getting a lot of the suspension on. I got our stainless steel brake lines in. We can start getting some more of the interior in, the headliner, the trunk. We can start putting this car together a lot more now that we've got like the headliner in and stuff like that. So I am excited. I am so excited because once we get more of this stuff off the racks onto the car, we're gonna pull out our 13B that I have sitting right over there. We're gonna get that thing cleaned up, reseal what needs to be resealed, paint the areas of the engine we're gonna paint, make it look beautiful, get the engine in, get the transmission in, the rear diff in, the PPF brace, which I already had that re-coated. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna clean up the steering rack, because it's still a good steering rack. There's no point buying a brand new one. We just gotta clean that one up. That's all I got for you guys on this one. It's not as much work that we got done as I would have liked. I would have liked to get the doors and all the other painting done just so that way we could have had a complete body. But as a one-man show right now, it's a little bit difficult to do everything that quickly. So I'm still ecstatic with the results that we're getting built. If you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be able to put it in one of these corners, no idea which one quite yet. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.